Okay, it is 6:35 p.m. Welcome to the March 25th, 2026 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating at the Aralaga Family and Recreation Center in accordance with public health guidelines for in-person meetings and members of the public participating remotely. I would first like to introduce the commissioners and staff present. First, we have Commissioner Kevin Dawkins, Vice Chair Driscoll Grass, myself, Chair Wanwood Lee, Commissioner Shilpa Patel, Commissioner Michelle Sherman, and Commissioner Justin Van Buren. Staff present include Library and Community Services Assistant Director Nick Shagda, Library and Community Services Supervisor Tricia Mullen, Management Analyst Ashley Dixon, and Recreation Coordinator Megan Wolman. Ashley will be helping facilitate the meeting. Ashley, will you please take a moment and provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, thank you, Chair. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. For members of the public attending in person, there are speaker cards available on the table. Please complete one and turn it into staff before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. If there are a large number of public commenters, the time limit will be adjusted by the chair in order to allow everyone a chance to comment. When your turn for public comment has arrived, staff will unmute you. And just as a reminder, after public comment has been given and public comment is closed, the commission cannot answer questions or engage in conversation any further. With that, I'll return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda. Therefore, the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Ashley, do we have any public comments?
Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? No public comment.
Okay, moving on. First is item D1, the gymnastics program updates presentation. Here to present the item is Recreation Coordinator Megan Wolling.
All right. Good afternoon, commission. My name is Megan Woolley. I'm the recreation coordinator at the Aralaga Family Gymnastics Center. So today I'll just be kind of you through what I've been up to lately. So first, a little history on our gymnastics program.
Let me stop sharing information.
It when you're sharing it on the Zoom, the PowerPoint often is really laggy, so it's not actually small.
Oh, and I'm happy to take your questions at the end.
Sorry, Megan.
No problem.
Okay, let's try this again. Okay.
Okay, so a little background information. The gymnastics program was founded in 1962. At that time, we shared space with the gymnasium. We continued to share space with the gymnasium until 2013, when we had a little remodel. 2013, we were fortunate enough to get our own building, which really has helped us to further expand upon programming. From 1962 on, we've definitely gone through different stages in the gymnastics program. In the past, we've had a competitive team for both girls and boys gymnastics. Currently, and in recent years, we've really shifted our focus to more recreation-based programming. And so we've been focusing on providing access to individuals with diverse needs and diverse interests. So our staff, we have a great team right now. We have 7 full-time staff members, including myself. I am probably the newest staff member. I will be approaching 6 months soon, probably next month, I think. So we have 7 full-time and 7 temporary staff members as well. On this team, we're very fortunate to have 3 full-time staff members that have been with Menlo Park Gymnastics for 10 years and on. So they bring with them, of course, a lot of experience with gymnastics, but also a lot of experience with community members in Menlo Park. Our newer staff members also provide different insight in newer program development and child development as well. So as we may all know, we experienced some flooding in the winter. And so for that, we were closed for 6 weeks while we worked on repairs. For 3 of those weeks, we were able to do pop-up classes here in the recreation center. So this was a really great opportunity for staffers to interact with the public, interact with students, and provide opportunities for students to get kind of gymnastics adjacent programming. And we really got them excited for when we were able to open up later. But through this time, we had 64 classes and we were able to host 422 participants. So on this chart, we can see kind of where most of our programming and who most of our participants are. You'll see that a majority of our programs and participants are currently with our preschool programming. So that is about 1.5 to 6 years old. So we found a lot of success there. Next up, you'll see our school-age boys and girls programs. With the boys, we focus on retention for them. So this includes creating kind of a hybrid program within the last 1 to 2 years. So we're doing not only gymnastics skills, but also incorporating parkour skills. This has increased our enrollment numbers, but also increased the, interest during classes for the boys as well. Down below, you can see our special needs class and our adult and teen classes. So these are some areas where we could focus on improvements. I think increasing marketing and kind of getting the word out that we have these programs is a big one, and where we can get more with that. And here we have a look at participant numbers throughout the last year. You can see through the fall, winter, and spring, we've had pretty steady numbers, but we do have a bit of a drop in summer. So this happens kind of on a regular basis due to vacations, kids going to camp. And so as we're planning for this upcoming season, we're planning for that drop again, but then we'll also be brainstorming on how we can kind of increase interest from the public and how we can adjust our programs to better suit their needs. All right, thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Yes.
Do you have any plans to bring back the competitive team, or what was the history and why it was dropped in curiosity?
So that was just kind of a result of COVID. And so with the competitive team, it takes up a lot of space. We need those coaches specifically. We are working up to that this spring. We are actually introducing the girls preteen program. So one of our staff members, I think she's been here for 30 years. So she's really focused on building that up. And she's got the preteen going and heading slowly but surely in that direction.
Cool.
Anything else? Yes.
So I actually have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I've been lucky enough to enroll 4-year-old in some classes, but also been very unlucky in signing up for enrolling them at other times because literally the classes build up within seconds. I set an alarm, I'm on the website, I'm ready to click. You cannot get in for a certain program, so
It's like the most stressful day of the year.
so again, I have so many compliments to the program, but you have 2 parents here right now that seemingly have tried to enroll, yet have been unable to. So is there any way we can increase the supply to kind of match the demand that we're seeing?
Yeah, Sure, we're definitely still also working on increasing the supply. We've added a few more classes for the spring. That's something that kind of comes with time as we hire more temp staffers as well. We're looking into the future a little bit of ways and hoping to maybe get Monday classes going, and that will help us increase the amount of classes. We see the demand, and we definitely hear those and see those experiences. And so, big apologies for that, it's really stressful. But yeah, working through solutions with adding more classes, meeting that demand, as well as maybe altering the registration process are all definitely on mind. Action.
Can you talk about like, what are the obstacles or blockers that you have? For example, I know Sunday, there are no classes. And
Yeah.
Maybe there's a good reason for that, but if you could kind of talk about
Mhm.
that.
I can't talk specifically about Sunday, I don't know, I'm not sure that in the past we've had Sunday classes, I would definitely have to check on that. I think with staffing, it just takes time to train, I think gymnastics is a really kind of a niche skill set. And so finding coaches, training them, keeping them, it can take time. I believe in the last 2 years, they've really been able to, I think, I was just looking at it last week, I think they might have almost been able to double their classes. Under our last leader, Harrison did a really great job of doing that and supporting the development of coaches. And so that's something, as we go into the summer specifically, I'd really like to continue hiring and training. It's definitely on our.
Okay, so we need coaches. Is there anything else that's an issue?
I think it's mainly coaches is a big one, yeah. There's just, not enough people to kind of be there in that time on whether it is Sunday or Monday.
And I think, I'm sorry if I can just chime in there a little bit too, I think because you're dealing with mostly younger kids, you also need kind of a higher ratio of instructors to students, so that compounds it a little bit. We have in the past in the program offered things like birthday parties and things on Saturdays. But COVID, if you remember, didn't just stop the program. Like the community services department at the time was not a merged department, all of the staff were laid off. So we had to really rebuild, and we were fortunate enough to keep some of the long-term staff by hiring them in as hourly workers in other departments on the team. So I know Nikolai worked in the library for a while, Sabina and Mike worked in childcare. So we were able to kind of hang on to those guys that way. But it has been a really long build back up. And like with the competitive teams, you can't just go from 0 to competitive team right away. You have to kind of develop the kids, and they have to, grow up through the classes till they get to the level where they can compete.
If I may, thank you, Megan. The other constraint I want to recognize is temp staff has a big impact on budget, so there are constraints of what we can spend for temp staff. And, I know Megan and the team are constantly looking at that and really trying to build capacity. And we have conversations maybe, every season about, what's next. So we're doing what we can, I think, from within the boundaries that we do have, and we know that there is need, and this is a major asset to all of our community services.
We also totally feel your pain on registration day. It's like that 10-minute period.
It's not like 2 minutes. If you want
So we try to do a couple of different things, because there are people who game the system. So we've instituted more recently like sort of random checks to make sure that people who are registering at the time that they're resident registration are residents. So we've done some auditing, and luckily the number of people who've been trying to do that is very few, very small. But the other thing is sometimes people think that the system is broken or not working, it's just overwhelmed. So if you have 12 slots, the Saturday classes, I think, are the most attractive, is that the Saturday classes?
Saturday, yeah, for sure.
So everybody's trying to get into the Saturday classes, and then if they can't get in, sometimes what they'll do is they'll book a class another day of the week and then kind of try to horse trade their way into a Saturday class. So there's a lot of back and forth with the family because it is so popular, and Megan and her team do a really great job of all of that intense customer service on that day, because you don't want to be the dad that was supposed to get up and sign up the kids for gymnastics and you couldn't, and the people get upset. And so it can get a little tricky on the registration Saturday, we really have to stamp up for that. But we've in the past thought about different kinds of things, like do we do like a lottery system, do it? And there are ways to gain that too, we just haven't, we're open to finding other ways to kind of ease that pressure on registration day. So if anybody has a really great idea, share with us later, we absolutely consider it. But we just haven't gotten to anything that's better than what we've got now.
It's a very, very nice program, and nice facility.
Thank you.
Is there anything the commission can do to kind of advocate on behalf of the gymnastics program?
Well, I think, with continued positive comments, we'll be able to get the support, get kind of budget adjustments with time, to continue to grow and fill that need that the community members have.
I just want to ask, is how much funding comes from the city for the program versus the fees that come in for the classes, and what's the balance there? And
Well, all of the funding for the program comes from the city, it's just whether the level of cost recovery, I guess, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's 60%.
That's pretty high for most.
60
like,
or 70,
grades or-
it's higher than a lot of the other services that we have because of the demand, the constant demand over time.
Is the pricing, because it feels like a steal, when like it's really cheap,
And
and
that's very interesting that you mentioned that, this.
Be careful what you ask for.
never mind, it's really expensive.
The city.
Well, you were talking about budget, and you
Yeah.
were like,
The city is in the middle of a cost of services study. And in fact, there was a presentation last night at the city council meeting. And there is a recommendation to raise fees on some of the LCS programs, especially the ones that are underpriced comparatively. It's hard to find comparators for a city-run gymnastics program because there aren't that many around. And ones that focus not on competitive gymnastics, but sort of participatory gymnastics are few and far between. Most of the like tumbling private gyms are trying to get as many people in there as we can, so we have lower class sizes. Which is why we're so popular and the great staff that we have, so I think there's some room for the prices to go up a little bit, yeah. Thanks, Kat.
I want more class would be great, I'm not saying like double it, like.
No, we wouldn't double it. Wouldn't double it. That would be, yes, when I show the golden goose. Thank you. Thank you.
And Ashley, I did forget to ask, do we have any public comment on this item?
I think we did call for public comment, you remember, is
Oh,
there any public comment on item D1? Let me just check on.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on to regular business, we have item E1, approval of the February 25th, 2026 meeting minutes. Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
Is there any public comment on item B1? No public comment.
Thank you. With that, public comment is closed. Would any commissioner like to motion to approve the minutes from February?
I motion to approve the minutes from the February 25th, 2026 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'll second
Sorry, was that grass? Thank you. Right, there's a motion to approve the minutes from the February 25th, 2026 meeting. Commissioner Dawkins, how do you vote?
Approved.
Vice Chair Grass, how do you vote?
Approved.
Chair Lee, how do you vote?
Approved.
Commissioner Patel?
Approved.
And, Commissioner Sherman, how do you vote? Approved. And Commissioner Van Buren, how do you vote?
Approved.
Motion passes.
The next item is, item E2, recommended updates to the racket sport court policy. Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. Kathy?
Do we want to?
Do you have any presentation?
I have a brief presentation.
Yeah, we do the presentation.
Policy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So tonight we're looking for a recommendation for you to recommend the updates to the racket sport court policy. That would be the title change to the policy. This policy is provided to clearly communicate the process and expectations for casual use and rentals of the racket sport courts operated by the city of Menlo Park. Like most policies that we bring to you for recommendation, we do have two versions of the policy. We have the previous version with the marked up comments, and then we have the clean version of what we're hoping that you will recommend tonight. The updates specifically in the policy include the title change. The document is reordered and reformatted to current city document standards. There are additional headings for hours of availability and USAT guidelines. There's additional guidelines for rentals. That's one of the big things that we really wanted to highlight. Updates for departmental and contact information, and there's very typographical corrections and clarifications. So that is kind of what we've updated the policy to look like, and we're happy to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
Is there any public comment for E2? Yes, there is. Kathy Tokich.
Thank you.
You may address the commission. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Tokich. I live in T2. And I just wanted to, this is just a clarification, along with the racket court sports document that you're just referring to. I do see in there, I'm a pickleballer, as some of you know from the last meeting, so I don't want to take too much time about pickleball tonight. But I do want to just gain clarification. It does identify Nealon Court number 5 as a dual use court. And I know in the last meeting on the 25th of February, Nick had given a report which included repainting court number 5 at Nealon Park for 4 single-purpose football courts, removing temporary wall striping, anticipated to be completed in April. So that indicated to me at our prior meeting that that court would be repainted with just the 4 courts on that surface at court 5. And then when I saw the dual use listed in the document, I know that's a little bit in conflict. So I just wanted to confirm that the painting will be only for the 4 individual courts. And because this is kind of a one-way conversation, I wanted to add just a few points. I know Nick did reply. He said that while we're repainting Nealon 5 for pickleball, we haven't gotten direction from city council to make that court pickleball only. It remains dual use court, and we're recognizing the current usage, because it's being used for pickleball now, we'll put the pickleball lines on it, is how I read it, shall we get that clarified. But I am asking at this meeting to get some clarification. Will there only be pickleball lines repainted in April for courts 1 through 4? And to add back in the reason I feel that probably is the case, adding tennis lines back in could be kind of confusing, because those courts have not been used for 4 years for tennis. It's been at least 4 years, probably more than 4 years. Also, on the Menlo Park website, for Nealon, it only lists this court number 5 as pickleball courts, 1 through 4. Additionally, the city signage that we have on the court is a graphic with pickleball courts 1 through 4. There's no tennis court on that graphic. We've also had, like I said, no tennis players. You could ask, we have some tennis players here. Ask anybody, I probably won't find anybody that's played on that court in the last 4 or 5 years. And also additional expenditure of painting back on tennis lines, also adding more confusing lines. We feel it's a safer environment to just have the pickleball lines because it is slightly undersized. Makes it easier for our, especially our new players and our senior players. So I think that was just what I had, and I just wanted to put that out to the commission. And if there is a specific process that our Menlo Park Pickleball Club should be following to get this corrected eventually as a non-dual use sport, then I'd love advice on that as well.
Any free comment? Are there any other public comments for item E2? There's no more public comments, and you're welcome to open the item for commission discussion. And I will clarify that although you can't respond back, you can ask staff to clarify while the commission discusses, and that's completely fine to do.
Thank you, Ashley. With that, the item is open for commission discussion.
I have a question, the agenda didn't appear on the website, so where's the actual policy right next to me? Or can we screen or?
Can we pull the policy up? Would you like to see the clear version first or the marked version? What would you?
Clear is fine.
Clear, okay.
Yeah, the markers is a mess.
It is. Because of all the formatting.
I find it really
Yeah, it's,
difficult to see.
Okay. And yeah, apologize, I looked for it, but you know. we had
Thank
a
you.
glitch
We'll
with the-
clear it up, thank you.
Yeah,
Should we just start at the top and work our way down? Is this, a spot for?
sure, that looks good to me.
Yeah, I can kind of go over the major changes that we made. Most of them were to address some complaints that we've been getting at Nealon and Little Oaks about tennis instructors using drop-in courts for tennis instruction and not booking the courts that are set aside for instruction. Making some changes to this policy to limit the number of courts that number of slots that you can rent and limit the amount of time far out that you can in advance that you can book them to hopefully address that, as well as some changes on the back end in our Explore booking system. What we found was some instructors would book 40 slots and then cancel 25 of them. Like the day before they were due, and it's just a lot of work on staff on the back end to go through and cancel all those slots, and it also makes it look like that there are a lot fewer slots available for people who want to reserve them. So hopefully with a combination of policy changes and the back end changes and some better signage at the courts, we can kind of address some of these complaints. We don't, as you know, we don't have staff out there policing the courts and saying, hey, so we're leaving it to people's good behavior to follow the policies, but to the extent that we can structurally make it easier for it to go the way we would like it to go for the community, that's what we're doing.
Can I ask you just a specific question about how the reservation system, because I've talked to some tennis instructors, and some of them have been really frustrated that they have to get on really quick and they register like every hour for it really quickly. Is there any change in how that works or?
No, you don't have to get on, I mean, you can book it out, I think, a week in advance, so you don't have to book it every hour unless you keep booking slots. If you were on a court, you wanted to keep booking it.
Okay, so, okay, you can book in advance.
Yeah.
And then how, like, does it open at a certain time of the day or like, is there a competition between?
I haven't heard that before, but we can ask, I can talk to Kate, who's the staff member in charge of the courts and the rentals, so I can ask her if that's been an issue. Yeah,
Okay, maybe it's, I just heard, from a couple of people that there seemed to be some kind of competition.
well, people are booking up 45 slots and then canceling 30 of them. Yeah, there might be some competition, and that's what we wanna. We're not set up to be a workplace for tennis coaches, we're set up to be, for people to drop in and play tennis primarily. We did a big pickleball and tennis survey back in the day, which we can, I don't know for you, if you'd like to read it again, but people wanted to drop in and play, and then they wanted to be able to reserve a match if they like set a tennis date with someone. And that's really what we're set up to do. We're set up for casual bookings and drop in play. We're not really set up for someone to run a tennis coaching business. The other thing that we were noticing was that some of the instructors, we have our own, we have contract instructors who teach classes, tennis instructing classes for the city as well. Where was I going with this? I've lost my thought. I think it was a late night last night. I know. Some of the people who were booking classes for instruction were not paying the commercial rate, they were paying the resident rate or the non-resident rate. And the commercial rate is higher, and it's just little things like that that we're trying to kind of correct.
And one of the boundaries within the reservation system is now 2 weeks in advance and no further out. So, yeah, it's not by the hour. Yeah.
Right. And I guess, we mentioned before, just from casual players or coaches that are squatting under courts, especially in Elon, it's like a really big problem.
On a drop-in court or like a reserve court?
On drop-in court, so like, like courts 3 and 4, there'll be an instructor just sitting there and he'll tell people, turn people away. So I've been hearing that happen.
Yeah, well, let us know. I mean, like I said, we don't have like a tennis court strike team or anything, we go out there. But if it's during business hours, if it's during business hours and Harrison or Kate are around, they'll go out and they'll talk to them, yeah. And if it gets that, I understand you don't wanna get into a conflict with somebody, but you can. That's why we hope by improving the signage, we can point to it and go, hey, this is a drop-in court, like, you can't just stay here, someone's waiting. Maybe we need to put rules about waiting, I mean.
They should have a permit available.
Yeah, if they've got it reserved, they should be able to show you the receipt, because that's one of the restrictions. We tell people in the policy that you have to have the receipt ready to show to other people if you have it booked, and that way you can prove that you've got it booked for that time. But also somebody can go and say, oh, you've got a book, show me the receipt, and they should be able to show you the receipt.
Or maybe I could tell people to just file like a Menlo Park link or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can just tell them to contact me as well.
Okay.
And I can get it to Harrison or Kate. I do get those complaints about, and I have been getting more in the new year about Milan and Rose, just sort of bad behavior like that, so. I won't say I'm happy to get those calls, but I'm happy to help try to solve those problems.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
So, I mean, you're saying people should email you, but like, is that listed? Is that posted anywhere? Hey, I showed up to a court, there's a problem. I
you
mean,
could add something we could talk about adding something to the tennis page, or if there's a number on the sign, we could look at that.
well, I see the ACT thing, so can they just use ACT?
You can use ACT, it'll come to me that way. Yeah, I mean, it's not, like I said, ACT is the system that the city uses to report all kinds of issues by the community. It can geolocate stuff. And what it does is it goes to a central sort of clearinghouse in Public Works, and then they farm it back out to whoever's area it belongs to. So it would get to me, it might not be a same day thing, is the problem with that. So
If it's
maybe,
immediate, it would be Harrison or Kate and a
Yeah.
phone call, so we'll check the website and signage and.
yeah, and see if we can maybe put a
Update.
contact number for those folks there.
Okay, and why is it, I don't know, 2 weeks versus 1 week, and why the 8 1 hour reservations, why are those, do those numbers make sense? I don't know.
Maybe limited access.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense to us that like, if you wanted to play tennis, if you were like a tennis fiend and you wanted to book a whole bunch of spots, like how many is it reasonable for you to, for one person to book in a 2 week period, and we thought like, you know, four times a week seems like that's pretty good, that's a lot of tennis. So we thought that was generous enough to satisfy the tennis aficionados and restrictive enough to keep it from being the system being used by people who were using it commercially.
Has there tennis courts are reservable?
So
Or any pickleball courts that are reserved?
that's
the reason for that.
County Field.
I'm sorry, yes, not at Neil.
Not at Neil, no, I don't. From what I've heard from the pickleball aficionados, that's not the way it works really, like they really wanna drop in and they have their own kind of paddle system. Where the next player up, and they've been able to self-manage that really well. It's moving along, I mean, I'm gonna go out there after this meeting and play softball, and I'll check in on the pickleball out there. And to see how it's going, so they seem to be a really well-managed, self-managed community there. I mean, the problem, and I'll circle back to the comments that Kathy made to make sure that I provide some clarification for her. The problem, as you've heard with pickleball here, is just we don't have enough space for the room. And trying to figure out how to grow it in a way that we're not cannibalizing other racket sports, or how we plan for it. If when, you know, we did a lot of planning and a lot of work to try and get it into the Parks and Rec facility master plan, and that did not get approved by the council. So, you know, when do we try again? How do we go about it? Is there a way we can do something creative and interesting and try to sort of figure out? I've been talking to a gentleman. I'm wandering a little bit afield, but I was talking to a gentleman and he texted me, stop. This is from last night's meeting, she's like, stop. It's true, and it's right. Talking to a gentleman last week about indoor pickleball. And so there are apparently two different tribes of pickleball players, the indoor tribe and the outdoor tribe. There's some crossover, but they are mostly not a Venn diagram that intersects. So he was very interested in talking to me about trying to find places for indoor pickleball in Menlo Park, of which we have none right now, except that we have some joint use agreements with schools. And so that is a thing that I think we're gonna explore, no promises made, but like that could be a way during off, like in summer or something, maybe we could pay to strike an Encinal gym or something and open up some indoor pickleball there. The other thing I thought of was maybe talking to my colleagues in community development, because often developers provide public amenities as part of their sort of sweetener package for development, just to sort of get it in their ear that there are these demands from the community on the Parks and Rec side, and like it's not just dog parks and parks, it's playing fields and courts and things like that.
Miniature golf course.
Miniature golf course, yeah. Yeah.
That's a great idea, there's a bunch of new elements.
Yeah, I mean, there no promises, because you never know how, that's a very tortuous process in itself, getting that approved.
Thank you. The reason I asked is because I talked with a couple of pickleball players earlier today. And they expressed an interest in the Peninsula Interclub pickleball thing, of which Menlo Park, the city cannot really participate because we don't have reservable courts specifically in like the inland area. There's country clubs and golf and racquet clubs that are in there, but there's also like Palo Alto pickleball and Palo
Alto's got a pretty big complex.
Yeah.
So to address the Kathy's earlier public comment, it is still because we did not get that approval from the city council to change it from a pilot program, which it's still operating under as a pilot program of pickleball. It is still a dual use court, even though, we are going to, repaint it just for pickleball. So it will not have tennis stripes, Neon Five will not have tennis stripes. Kelly, I think we are going to just restripe the pickleball for now, but that may be something that we look into as well. As far as I know, what Kate tells me is Kelly number one, I believe. And that still does get booked every once in a while for tennis. It's not super frequent, but it does happen. I expect, when the Kelly field and track get redone, that we will have to really start looking seriously about some other changes out there, just because I expect usage to go up. There were people playing soccer out there until 11 o'clock. And that's on that Randy field, it's there now, so. If that's, it's one of the few places that we have that is lit, and lighted, I guess is the proper term. And, the demand is just gonna go through the roof if we redo the field. We'll have to figure out ways to manage that so that people from the neighborhood or from the city can still have time. That's a big balancing act that the outdoor, rec folks do. You know, you have big user groups who wanna use the fields, and you have people who just wanna kick the ball around or throw the ball around, and how do you balance that? So, I hope that was enough to address your question. And, thanks for indulging my meandering weed sports there.
Yeah, I wonder if we can just quickly scroll through, you can highlight any changes.
I think generally that's what they were. I think we have do we have a good, no, I mean a good sportsman thing. I think that was something that Harrison was working on. Yeah, okay. So the rules, we were working on some things that would make it, just sort of reminders that people need to, the USTA section is new because USTA tennis is now, starting to use some space at Elon and book some space. They have a different kind of, different requirements than tennis, instructors do.
Can we edit the text a little bit for court availability and usage? I mean, the title says availability, but the text itself doesn't mention anything about if someone's squatting or.
We don't, but that's, I think we might just put that on court rules. I mean, we also have like when we do rental agreements, there's different types. So if someone were renting a court, there should be text that says something about they should, you know, not stay past their allocated time and things like that. We have that sort of language, I know, for field rentals, so I'm assuming it's there for court rentals, but it's a good thing for me to go back and check.
In the way of availability, I think the facility information and what's available and times, that's what we're speaking to when we look at availability. But as far as like squatting and, you know, things that behavior that's not appealing to any users, we'll include that in.
Yeah, it's not unique to the courts. I know we're working on some big signage to put in our basketball courts for sort of good, reminding people about good behavior during, you know, middle school league games, things like that. And it's not the kids.
And just to piggyback on that, we do have the recreation facility use guidelines that kind of is that overarching policy that supports any type of behavioral guidelines.
Yeah,
Expectations.
every rule has a story behind it. And so sometimes people think we have a lot of rules about things, but we have a lot of things that pop up and we want to be able to address them in a fair manner so that people don't think we're making stuff up, but to get them when we have some kind of conflict that we're trying to resolve. And the overarching aim is to make it fair, safe, and easy for people to use, because we want to encourage use as much as possible.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on to the next item, which is item, you have to, oh, sorry.
Actually, if, Chair, if you could, recommend, updates to the policy. We would.
Apologies. Yeah, would any commissioner like to make a motion to, approve the changes?
I can motion to approve changes. I'll second the motion.
All right, there is a motion to recommend updates to the Racket Sport Court policy. Commissioner Dawkins, how do you vote?
Approved.
Vice Chair Grass, how do you vote?
Approved.
Chair Reed, how do you vote?
Approved.
Commissioner Patel, how do you vote?
Approved.
Commissioner Sherman, how do you vote?
Approved.
And Commissioner Van Buren, how do you vote?
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is item F1, the aquatics user survey results for 2025 to 26. Staff will provide a brief introduction on this item.
Thank you, Chair. So Ashley and I are gonna tag team this item. We would like the commission to review the results of the aquatic survey. We do have the 2 aquatic facilities, the Belhaven Pool and Burgess Pools. Those aquatic centers are operated by the aquatics operator, and within the agreement, it states the city will conduct a survey on an annual basis. Survey methods, so the survey was open from December 6th of 2025 through January 20th of 2026. It was distributed in English and Spanish, and it was available via printed surveys at city facilities. The responses were about a total of 624 participants and 418 free text comments. Survey results suggest that respondents' priorities for aquatics programs are similar across neighborhoods. And let's see, and then we looked at specific subcategories. Those include all responses, resident responses, Belhaven resident responses, and non-resident responses. So Ashley's gonna go through a presentation with all of the data she collected, and she will speak to that. Thanks, Ashley.
So Trish did a really nice job introducing all of this. We opened the survey, we do this annually. It's in our agreement that we do our own pool user survey. Is that correct, Trish?
Correct.
Yes. So this is our own survey of pool users. Like she said, 624 participants, 75% of participants self-identified as incorporated residents. So some of the highlights, 42% visit Burgess once a week, 21% never visit, 71% are satisfied, somewhat satisfied, 18% have no opinion. Belhaven Pool, 11% visit once a week, 61% never visit, 41% are satisfied, somewhat satisfied, 51 have no opinion, and 61 responses identify themselves as being Belhaven residents. So that's relatively small as compared to Burgess Pool. People who are likely to use Burgess Pool as their primary pool. There's a bunch of charts here. You're welcome to go through them. My main takeaways are gonna be on the following slides. So for all responses, if we look at the top sort of 5 here, we'll see that among all responses, resident responses, and Belhaven resident responses, they're fairly consistent. So all the subgroups responded that some sort of generous hour offerings are important to them. So whether they said open 7 days a week or open year round, those were important to all groups. All the groups except for non-residents placed importance on focusing on resident needs, which makes a lot of sense. I always said the same thing. All groups placed importance on having a monthly CAS option and reduced rates for swim visits. So that was consistent. That's what they had in common. Respondents from Belhaven neighborhoods were more likely to prioritize affordable rates, while people who were likely to have Burgess Pool as their primary pool prioritize lap swim. Both groups of residents place importance on youth swim lessons. And Belhaven respondents placed higher importance on social and playtime for families, while Burgess swapped that out for senior swim programs. So when looking at the survey, during the rankings, there's sort of two categories that these questions fall into. One is an operation focused item, so that would be like hours of operation, open 7 days a week, offering swim passes, reduced rates, affordable fees. So those are more operation focused. And then the others are more activity focused. So like during those operating hours, what are you offering? So these slides kind of focus on that more. The operation focused items such as fees and hours were consistently among top 5 in importance to pool users. There were also similarities when we looked at how activity and program-based questions scored on importance. Among activity-based program questions, lap swim, beginner children's swim, and swim for seniors placed high across all groups except for Belhaven, which ranks social and playtime for children and families more highly than swim programs for seniors. That is it. And then we still have the pretext comments to go through. That's sort of a bigger lift than the nice line by line data. We are going to meet and talk about it and decide next steps for some of those. Do you want to talk about like sort of where we go from here and next steps that we want to do with survey results?
Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, it's good to do something with survey results, isn't it? That's the whole. Yeah, I would encourage commissioners to take a look at the free text comments. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there, as there is in many of the surveys that we do. Because that's people getting a chance to sort of talk to us directly about what they're interested in, concerned about. We're planning on sharing this set of survey results with our operator partners. As you know, we have this public-private partnership, so the city is taking in this information, but we don't actually run the programs at either of the aquatic centers. But we are looking to work closely with Menlo Swim and Sport on some programming ideas, and that's starting next week. There's some new staff members that they hired that are going to start working out at the Belhaven pool, which is exciting. And the two pools really are kind of different animals. The Burgess pool has been running its programming for a long time. So there's a pretty good groove formed there in the community about what kinds of programs are offered, how they're offered, what hours they're offered. In other words, those things have been sort of tested and been successful and refined over a longer period of time. At Belhaven, which is is only just for the last year or so been running full 63 hours a week. We haven't had that same sort of chance to test and refine. And we've been getting a lot of comments from the community about what they want and what they don't want, which I'll talk a little bit about in the department updates section coming up. Next steps, Ashley has done a really good job of kind of classifying, putting arms around all of the free text comments and wrangling them into kind of categories so that you can see trends. But that does take a little more effort than just sorting the results of the survey. So we will do that, and we can present that sort of arms around wrangling at a later meeting. Aquatics is still very much top of mind for the council and for the community. I'd say both aquatics communities, it's still very top of mind. So something that we'll be paying close attention to.
I have a question for Ashley. Just one. Ashley, thank you for the presentation. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Do we have any public comments for item F1? No, one public comment.
Oh,
No, sorry, my apologies. Oh, we're already here.
Okay, so Bellhaven has been open for 22 months,
Mhm.
roughly. Did you see a much larger number of responses in the aquatic survey of people identifying as residents of the Bellhaven neighborhood or attending the Bellhaven pool this survey versus a year ago?
That's a good question. I have to go back and look and compare that. Thank you for bringing that up.
I think sort of seat of my pants, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think we have more overall respondents, but we should check and make sure. But 61 is a pretty good chunk of respondents who's identified as Bellhaven residents. So, I mean, there are a fair number of Burgess or other neighborhood residents who would probably be Burgess pool users if Bellhaven pool wasn't there, who use the Bellhaven pool for last swimming and things like that.
One thing I do remember between last year and this year that was kind of interesting is that their top sort of requests and important, they were fairly consistent across both years. That it was.
The operator has operated the pool, the Bellhaven pool since 2011. And it wasn't full-time, it was seasonal for most of the time between 2011 and when it was closed in 2021. So that 10-year period, I think it was run mostly seasonally. It flexed it up in the summer and down during the rest of the year.
Well, I think it's nice to see that we're making more of a commitment. Being more available. Any question?
One recent thing that's been affecting the pool are maintenance issues. I know this week, since Monday, the pump for the open pool has just. I don't know what exactly happened, but even today that pool is not available, so. I don't know what we can do, cause to maybe track. What I'm seeing in these surveys is. People want the pool to be available, but if the pool is closed, it's not available. And I don't know if we track like what percentage of days, the pool is closed or et cetera. And in the past, I've also seen temperature issues with the pool. And so on, so I don't know if this is something that we need to bring up with Team Sheeper. Regarding their, these ongoing maintenance issues, but maybe you could provide some context on what's going on.
You can provide a whole lot of context.
I'll give you what you're asking. So yeah, thank you for asking. The current circulation pump for the instructional pool, which is a small pool, the only shallow water at Bellhaven, is currently not working. We have identified, we're working with our maintenance vendor to get that taken care of. The pump is under warranty. That's the good news. We're trying to figure out if they have one on shelf to replace it. It stopped working. Overall, yes, we know there's an impact. The city has identified that this is a overall system issue. The Public Works is kind of working towards getting a vendor to look at the overall system to see, what's not working and how we and identifying what we can do to fix the system. Understanding that until the system is fixed, these things are gonna pop up, unfortunately. It all works together, and when one piece isn't right, it's all impacted. So, and to speak to the heater issue, that is a system issue. Also, I think we're working off 3 of the 5 heaters right now. So, well known, well communicated, and as far as keeping track, we are keeping a log of all of the impacts to the mechanical systems that are closing the pool and ultimately impacting the access for the community. Yeah.
And just some clarification, so according to the agreement that we have with the operator, the city and the operator have different responsibilities for maintenance. If you think about it like a car, We have the major systems, we have the engine and things like that. The operator has like the oil, the filter, well, I won't say filter because there's filters are major systems in pools, but the sort of more minor oil and fluids kind of things and monitoring and balancing. That's basically what the pool operator does. We are responsible for the major systems of the pool. And it's been very frustrating and very difficult to explain to residents why in this brand new pool, it's not brand new now, but it's pretty new. Why we've been having so many problems, and the reason is because there's been a bigger underlying problem than we've been trying to find and fix that. And the underlying problem is causing all of these crackable problems that keep popping up. Here at Burgess, it's old. It's old, and so stuff breaks because it's old. So that's a separate issue. And, you know, the pool facility at Burgess has been kind of working its way up the capital improvement project list for a few years now. So it's gonna be, and it's also using the heaters here at Burgess are using gas heated technology. So that's something that the city wants to remove as part of its climate action plan. So things are coming together slowly here at Burgess. And Tricia has the marks for every one of these things that goes out. She's the first person that people call, that the operator calls about what's broken. She's working very hard behind the scenes to try to make sure that we get sort of preventative maintenance in place so that we don't have to deal with as many larger problems, and then to get the systems issues identified and fixed at Bellhaven. So yeah, in general, yes, is the answer to your comments. Yeah, it's a problem. We know it's a problem, and we're trying very hard to fix it. And happy to talk to you offline too about it if we want. We could have a coffee and we could talk on aquatic things. If you really want to do it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Next item then is item F2, Library Community Services Department Statistics and Activities. Staff will also provide a brief presentation on this item.
Great, thank you. So like other months, the statistics and suggestion box responses are included in the packet. With that, we have some exciting activities that have occurred or are coming up. The activity guide for spring enrollment was open, and we are currently taking spring registration. It opened on Thursday, March 12th for hyperlocal, Saturday, March 14th for residents, and Wednesday, March 18th for non-residents. At registration time, there were about 2,016 community members that registered for activities. So that is the gist of that. Bellhaven Community Resource Fair. So the Bellhaven community can enjoy the Resource Fair on March 28th from 11 to 2 p.m. at the Bellhaven Community Campus. Included are light refreshments and entertainment in an interactive atmosphere where local agencies will provide resources to the community. Spring Fest in Egg Hunt on April 4th from 10 to 1. The city will celebrate spring at the festival and Egg Hunt. There will be a free petting zoo, photos with the Big Bunny, children's crafts, and related activities. Attendance is free for the festival, however, the egg hunt will require registration, advanced registration for us to manage the numbers. And we are including the sensory friendly hunts again for ages 4 and under. Advanced tickets are available for residents at no charge and $5 for non-residents. And the egg hunt tickets became available on March 22nd. Softball league registration, on March 12th, the registration reached its maximum capacity and we closed it earlier than we were planning. We have 7 teams and between 56 to 70 players. let's see, additionally, we offered a co-ed league, and that unfortunately had low attendance or low enrollment. So we did cancel that. The softball season will run from March 25th through June 17th, right?
Sure.
Games are
If we make the playoffs.
Games will run at Elon Park on Wednesdays from 7 to 10. Closures for the all hands training, staff does have an all hands training this Friday, March 27th. This is an opportunity for us to come together, for us to sharpen our skills and our new skills. Specifically, we are working on our mission and values for the department. Let's see, most staff trainings will occur without having to close the facilities. However, this is a full day affair, so we are doing so. And let's see, we usually do this no more than 3 times a year. And that's about it for the current updates.
And then I have a quick update from last night's city council meeting. There were a couple of items of interest to this commission. One was the aquatics study session, which had some really great help from Trisha and Ashley to help prepare for that study session. A lot of good discussion about how the council would like staff to move forward on programming at the Belhaven Pool. They eventually came down after some really good discussion on continuing the current model, which is the cost share model that we talked about and that was approved in September of last year. But with some a couple of little refinements, they want staff to work with the operator on the 3 main things that residents have been coming and providing input about, and that is making the hours meet what the residents need. So since we can't add more hours, we need to slide them around to fit them, so adjust the hours to fit, and we'll work with the operator on that and the community. And then the other one is programming, so what kinds of programs are offered at the Belhaven Pool. There's not the same sort of aquatics culture in Belhaven, so we have fewer people who know how to swim and fewer sort of folks further along the progression to like competitive and masters swimming in Belhaven. So just starting to think creatively about ways to bring people to the pool, including events, maybe things that are not that are for people who either don't swim or don't swim well. There's a lot of creative things that we're excited about, and the public provided some really good input on programming. And then the third thing is improving communication, which has been kind of hinky, jerky, because it's this partnership is great, but it does mean there's another level of communication that has to be done. So sort of trying to square the circle, sort of the square. It's a triangle, but between the public, the operator, and the city staff. So trying to work that out in a way that works for everybody, and so that the community is getting getting heard, and to the extent that we can, getting their needs met. So that's it actually took like more than an hour last week, I think. So it took a lot, but it was a really good discussion. And then the other item that is of interest to this commission, and that will certainly be sharing more information with you guys going forward, the cost of services study. So that was a citywide study on how much it costs to do and provide certain services, and how much we charge, and whether we want to recover a high, medium, or low level, what sorts of percentages we want to recover for the services. So really good discussion with the council, more to come on that. And what I've been hearing from the mid-year budget update and the city council goal setting session last weekend, and this one is that there is a fairly significant budget deficit that the city is facing. And it's a structural deficit, meaning it's not a one-time thing. Sorry, I don't mean to budget explain you, probably you guys can budget explain me. it's not my forte. But caused mainly by the city not getting made whole on the vehicle license fees by the state, and it's to the tune of $7 million a year. So looking at a deficit for 26-27 of between $2.5 and $5 million a year. And not being able to necessarily pull some of the revenue levers, which would be like increasing the sales tax or reinstating the utility users tax. So starting to make some throat clearing noises about service cuts and how we do that in a way that doesn't impact quality of life. You know, the council has a long list of sort of budget principles. And so we on the staff side are starting to play out scenarios about what does it look like and how. So from what I've heard, and it's hard to bring it up in a public meeting or with staff without people going, because it's a very touchy subject. This is nowhere near what we were talking about when COVID hit or anything like that, but still, anything that's a structural deficit is worrisome, and so you have to kind of change what you're doing in order not to have a structural deficit. So it's important that we're good stewards of public funds. I'm gonna be working with our partners in finance and the team here in OCS, and we're gonna get through it. But we'll present stuff to you as we go along, and we'll be certain to update you as we go along. That was a long update, sorry, but I thought it was important.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
Are there any public comments on item F2? No.
Any other comments from commissioners on this item? Okay, now let's see with the budget. Moving on to the next item, the item F3, the tentative agenda calendar.
Yeah, this takes a while.
Exactly.
Right. Council license.
So in March, in April, we're looking at some of the annual items for the commission, the work plan, and progress report, the new appointed members, and then the annual attendance report. The youth advisory committee, we just found out that we'd like to push that to May. And then Flood Park is gonna be in May also. Park Ranger, we're teed up to do that for April, so. And then we are looking into, just so you know, those that will be moved. And then in May, additionally, a report out regarding the community campus update and fun run, along with the other items. And I'll let you guys look beyond that. We are looking to connect with the contact for the community gardens. So we do want to bring that to the commission. We just don't know when just yet. But all the green items are kind of those consistent things that we know are going to occur on an annual basis, right? If there's anything else, we're happy to entertain.
Yeah. Ashley, do you have any public comment on this item?
Are there any public comments on item F3? No.
Okay, seeing none, open for commission discussion.
Did Drew come that meeting? No.
No, we're ready to request that attendance again. I think we had an agenda review meeting with the chair and vice chair, and I think we were looking at the May timeframe. If the commission is okay with that, we can make that request. Great.
And then the community gardens, just to mention that the other item, third one, was, that was on the agenda last night at the community campus was about the environmental justice element of the specific plan for development. And there was a lot of interest in community gardens and healthy food sources and things in the Bellhaven area, so I'm making myself a note to talk to our sustainability colleague and see if she and we can partner up on something. Because there is a community garden that's run by the Rotary Club in Bellhaven, but there's opportunities for other kinds of things. I'm thinking like little barrels and things outside the senior center and all sorts of things where we can sort of chip away at it. And she would be great to sort of come and help us maybe work through that a little bit in a study session, so.
And the good public works and. Demand to be heard if I need it.
I don't think that demand to be heard at public works, they're pretty open. You have to find them first, so once you get there, they're pretty open.
Are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, the act is presented to the council in May as well, but they're also working at the Love Our Earth Festival on the 25th. So they're gonna report out on that, which sadly is the same day as the community fun run, because people aren't there. They won't be available.
The flood park presentation, you said will also be in May. Can we have a brief, like, one sentence update on what that will be? Flood park.
Yeah, so I went down to the parks office for the county, it's in Redwood City, and just because I hadn't heard back from them and I got an email back from the director right away, so it seems like the park will be updated by then.
Yeah.
So that's what they really want to be able to highlight, and so strategically, it was just a good time frame. She didn't provide specific updates, but we'd like to hold off and have them kind of share that with you. I'm happy to ask for an update or just go on the website and provide that.
I just know a couple of people who live in the surrounding environments. That asking the updates will be finished.
Yeah. It seems like April, May.
And I think they're fairly along in the phases, right? I don't know if there's. Yeah, they did the courts, they did the pump track. They did some barbecue areas, and now I think they're doing bigger picnic areas and bigger playground areas. Right now, yeah, maybe
The playground in particular, they're requiring.
we need a field trip.
Okay.
And that's something we could consider putting on the agenda calendar too, just to consider is in the past, we've had both sort of larger format field trips and where we go with the commission and public works colleague and sort of talk about the different park. Or we could do smaller ones where commissioners kind of split up and head out in ones or twos or threes, which don't trigger the noticing requirement of the Brown Act, visit the park and then report back.
Any other comments? Moving on then to the last item, individual commissioner reports. Would any commissioner like to make a short report out on items of interest to the entire commission?
Sure. The fun run, just wanted to give a little update. I just emailed back and forth with Harrison, only out of just, my company is a sponsor. But it sounds like there's not too many registrants yet, so I do encourage the commission to boost kind of using Instagram, LinkedIn. Harrison sent a pretty nice flyer, I guess that's been approved I think we definitely should do our part and try to boost it as much as possible. They currently have around 50 registrants. At least 100, I think would be a decent turnout. Anything less than that, I think would be concerning.
Yeah,
That's the hope. April 3rd, it sounds like is the end of the registration, but they can extend it?
We can extend it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can extend it. I think that the deadline was to make sure that if we got overwhelmed with registrants, that we were able to order shirts and medals and things. So it's also, you wanna have it for planning for 200 is different than planning for 100 or 75. So I just think they wanted to put some sort of guide. This is the first time we've done this, so there's a lot of firsts. And Harrison made a very nice video on Instagram, which you can track
I
down.
wouldn't know what's in.
With no, he's in disguise.
I thought it was great. I reposted it myself. I do think it would be helpful just to boost in whatever way we can.
Thank you, yeah, I do wanna recognize their efforts, they are working tirelessly, and he went to Sports Basement in Redwood City to talk to their run club, so they're doing the work, right, pounding the pavement. And whatever support we can get from the commission, we truly appreciate.
yeah, I think, I think this is an event that the commission kind of spawned through our own efforts. But I am concerned if we did enlist some sponsors and yet turnout is very low. We might generate some ill will as a result, so hoping we are, expending. Our efforts in marketing, for example, on the In Menlo news site, it'd be great to just have a banner up there. Even if it's just for 2 weeks, showcasing that this event is gonna happen, and then. There's like other sites that, like. I think our SEO presence is just not very good with this event, so people are looking for races to participate in April. It's still not very hard, it's still not very easy to find, so I don't know what we can do in that respect. And again, I think Harrison and Kate are doing a lot of work for this, but I feel like the number of registrants is indicative of kind of like marketing efforts, so maybe we could do something better there. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Egg hunt is in 1 week and Nick will be on stage with a microphone. So if there's
There
an
you go.
announcement that can be.
Sea of toddlers.
Yeah.
The Hoskin Sea of eager toddlers, you can't go.
Yeah.
Can't hunt eggs and.
Well, you register that one.
Yeah, I will wear a sandwich board if you need it. Let's try to get more. So our target goal, you said you're comfortable with 100?
100, I think, would be adequate.
Yeah.
Is there any way to potentially, I wonder if there's a way to kind of get information on why, like, is it the cost? That was my other thing, was it
Very
the
cheap.
cost?
I think it was only $30.
35.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was gonna be higher, I suggested that we lower it.
so it
so.
can't be, yeah, I'm just curious as to why, the time seems like a perfect time, it's a Saturday, it's April, the weather's great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe marketing, yeah, maybe it doesn't have the draw because it is the first annual,
Okay.
right? So it does take time to build things, so we will do all of the work, and if you have any specific suggestions, we're happy to put it in place. We
It
can.
did show up in some real estate mailer that I got a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
Sometimes they do like, man, local events where they're trying to sell properties and I was like, yeah.
Even reaching out to like the Giants in the area, the stand, like, can we get some Stanford kids to sign up, like?
Yeah.
College kids or?
Or M&A, yeah.
Yeah.
Menlo Atherton, yeah.
And I know there's I know Harrison has reached out to Meta's Run Club. And I think the new hotel that's there, I think he's reached out to them as well. Can't remember what that one's called, it's not gonna be, it's not the other one.
Citizen.
Citizens. So they're working at it. I think we're just gonna learn a lot about what's working and what's not
I hope
working.
that we get some last minute people to just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people's event horizon, it's a good dad joke, doesn't go out that far.
could also put flyers up on all the different popular running routes around the area.
Yeah,
Like a
absolutely.
bunch of.
Yeah, they've got the like yard sign. I've seen the yard signs around at the parks, so.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments, reports? Okay, with that, meeting is adjourned at 8 p.m.